Okay, we are recording. Good Monday afternoon to everybody. It is now 15:01, 3:01 p.m. We have an appointment, and let's go ahead and do today's Take Command of Command. I had shared in Facebook the topic of opportunities. So we're going to go through and try to go through the opportunities section, explaining the this is not a in-depth going through how to create an opportunity. This is more of a reminder, kind of updates that's happened since Mega Camp, things of that nature. I'm going to show you here. Oops. Just to make sure you know where I'm referring to. Here's the opportunities. So we're going to go over most of what I'm going to go over and share with you today, and I will show you where in answers.kw.com these can be found. But a lot of this will be a lot of the questions that we've been receiving recently with respect to phases and stages, what you can or cannot edit, modify, or make changes to, and what you should or shouldn't make changes to be honest with you. Checklist. The checklist within each particular stage of each phase. Client update, that is something that was basically new to opportunities since Mega Camp. It's the ability to share with your buyers or sellers where they lie within the transaction process itself. The details, which is, anyone that's ever taken an opportunities class with me knows that I always say the devil is in the details. This is what saves you a lot of work. It's also something that needs to be kept up to date as often as possible. And I will get into that a little bit later with the mistake that I recently made and didn't realize until after the fact. So no matter how knowledgeable you are of something, you still have a tendency to make mistakes. We all do, we all will. The seller profile, we're briefly going to go over that. That has to do more with whether or not your seller or buyer profile, I guess I could have put that in there. If your buyer or seller has an account, has created an account login with your app or on the website. Documents, I'm going to go over the documents, talk about the fact of what practices you can use, what you're supposed to do, with if you have a offer that falls through, things of that nature. Offers, if you want to get paid, you're going to need to at least have one offer in the opportunity, and the offer needs to be accepted. We'll go over that briefly also. Commissions, or as we used to call it, the green sheets. Make sure you have everything correct in that. Again, going back to what it was that I found recently in my most recent transaction, as a matter of fact. Notes, it's pretty simple. However, whatever you decide to use them for, or how you decide to use them, whether you're a single agent that might be using an admin, like a transaction coordinator or someone of that nature, or if you're on a team and you want to communicate important information, the notes can definitely let you share without having to send emails and text and things of that nature. And then, of course, the timeline. That's just basically going to let you see that everything you do within an opportunity is going to be recorded. So it's a timestamp. It has everything in there so that when the compliance or if legal has to go back and look, it is in your opportunity. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to go to a new share. Let's see where to put it. There we go. Now that we're in into opportunities, applet in command. So within command, we have our listings and we have our buyers. And being each of these phases, there are cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, close. Those are essentially, for lack of a better term, set in stone. You are not going to go in and change or try to remove any of these particular phases. However, within each phase, if you want to click within each phase, these stages here may be edit a stage. In the stage of cultivate, I'd make it more like a more than a year, 6 months or more, 6 months or less, within a month. It's basically, think of it as how do you do your, like, for example, appointment. Under appointment, I'm scheduling, so I'm working to schedule the appointment, usually from the cultivate stage. I now actually have the appointment scheduled. I have, once the contract appointment has been held, hopefully once at the contract appointment, it goes from here to active. If not, if for some reason there's a slight delay between the listing agreement being signed, I'll send it to post appointment. You can come in here and you can change, if I want to change these from scheduling, scheduled, contract appointment, anything of that nature, come in and click on edit stages. When you click on edit stages, you can rearrange. So if I wanted to say I wanted scheduled before scheduling, I could do so. Or if I wanted whatever order I wanted these in, I can drag just by clicking on the little square here, rectangle, and going straight there and dragging it to wherever it is I want. By the same token, if I need to delete, it will ask me, are you sure you want to remove this particular stage? If I say yes, the stage will be removed. The stages can be edited. The stages can be, you're going to want at least one stage. Please note, whatever you're seeing here in my particular command or my opportunities does not mean that's the standard or anything that you need to do. I want everyone to understand this is your business, and I understand this is your business. You need to run it what best works for you. With respect to active, if you want to make it just 1 or 2 stages, that's up to you. That is completely up to you. I happen to run it the way that I feel best. I have my pre-MLS, which means they've signed the listing agreement, but it's not active in the MLS. Once it's active in the MLS, we're either showing or having an open house, and then maybe we're under negotiations. This one, I may just simply remove and just make it active in the MLS. It was something that we were discussing as a team. My wife and I were discussing whether we wanted that stage in there. She did at the time, but to me, it's just an extra stage that's not needed. Legacy, if you try to move something from under contract back to under active, it generally will end up in legacy. Legacy is seen in the active stages for both listing and buyers. The legacy stage was created for when we were able to import the loops from .loop. That tool stopped working shortly after it was released. However, that is where those particular opportunities, when they're created during the import, that's where they would always appear under legacy. But like I said, if you look, we are in the listings now. If we go to buyer, active, there's legacy. If you go anywhere else, there is no legacy stage. And unfortunately, you try to remove the legacy stage, it will come back. It doesn't show there now. I go back. Let's see, it comes back there. It's going to make a fool out of me now. I wish it would stay away. Unfortunately, probably the next time I log back in, it'll be back. And that's fine. But understand that was the purpose of legacy. But when you want to go in under each phase of the pipeline, so under cultivate, however you want to just demonstrate or how you best remember where in the potential listing status is this potential listing? Is it in the, for example, this particular listing here came to, said she didn't want to talk to us until December of this year. She called today and said, can you come see me this week? So we're going to go talk to her this week. That's great. In order to move between the stages, grab the 6 dots and just drag it to where you need it to go. Again, grab the 6 dots where you want it to go. The main point I want you to understand about these phases is that whereas the cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed may not be deleted or modified in any way, shape, or form, within these particular stages, they may be. You may find that you can make it so that there's a phase or stage for each particular step of the buying process or selling process, however you'd like to make it. So once it's under contract, I'm under this, now there's this, now there's this. Once it's active, now there's this, now there's that. These are things that you have control of. But this also tells you and any potential person following up behind you, whether a teammate, a team member, or an admin, where in the process this particular opportunity lies. Now, we're in listings now. I'm going to come up here where it says edit stages. You can do this in any particular phase. We happen to be in listings active. Now, something I highly recommend all agents doing, even if it's only 1 or 2 things, there are certain items that you're going to do for every opportunity. There's things you're going to want to make sure you're always doing in that opportunity. For example, underneath this stage for pre-MLS listing, I've created a checklist. I want things like the fact that the seller is going to have to depersonalize, declutter the home to prepare it for the professional photos. My wife, who's a certified staging professional, will go in and stage the home for the photos. We schedule the photos and the touring shoot. We're going to make sure all the contract, anything in the contract is ready to be for listing. We're going to make sure we send copies of everything to the seller now and at the end. I'm going to create ad copy for all the marketing that's going to go out for the listing. We receive the photos and the virtual tour from the professional photographer. Make sure we've scheduled the post installation for the for sale sign if allowed. We're going to make sure that we have the initial open house scheduled, not only with the seller, but within MLS and within the social media advertising it. And then any HOA or conditional riders that may be along with the staging itself. These are things you do all the time. As a team, sometimes we're going, all right, has this been done or has that been done? I can go in and check off it's been done, and my wife and or our admin does not have to ask, has this been done? Has anyone ordered the sign? It says here it was done by so-and-so. That's all they need to know. It's been done. So you can go in and you can add items however you want to do and check them off however you want to check them off. By the same token, because this ties in with the checklist, is the client update. That was something that was added for around the Mega Camp release. Client update's going to send an email to the client, in this case the seller, letting them know something in this particular stage has been completed. One thing I would make sure is if you're going to use the client update, which we do, if you want to use the client update, make sure that for example here where it says create the ad copy for marketing pieces. Don't use don't talk to them as a real estate agent. So maybe instead of saying create ad copy for marketing pieces, create the marketing wording or something, so they know exactly what it is. Don't assume that your seller and or buyer, whichever the case may be, understands what you're saying to them. If I say I'm going to schedule the photo and tour appointment with professional photographer, that may be something that they would understand. But if I'm going through and saying, all right, I want to make sure that the MLS is ready and our market pulse, and if you start speaking real estate, you may confuse them or lose them. So if you're going to send something as a client update, when you create the item, make sure the item is in clear speak. Hopefully that makes sense without being too confusing. But you want to make sure they understand what it is that was accomplished. I'm going to come back over here. Back. Now, one thing I want everyone to understand, can everyone see the little gear where it's next to where it says create opportunity? Click that gear. Wait for it to come up. It's going to go to your settings. If you are a single agent, you're only going to see your name. If you are on a team, you will see the team name and your name. Now, if you're Rainmaker, if you're on a team and you're not the Rainmaker may restrict. They may not have the ability at this time, but I will let you know that they will have the ability to prevent team members from creating personal opportunities. They cannot create opportunities outside the team. So the only thing they will have will be this opportunities client update. So you want to make sure that you go through, set the time. I keep changing it. Who do I want to send from? It asks, who do you want the client update coming from? Normally it will come from me. However, since there are two Rainmakers, it gave me the choice. Do I want to send it to the client and the co-client? What if there were two sellers and or two buyers? Or do I just want to send it to the primary client only? Also, who do I want to send a copy of the update to? To the assignees or to the owner? The assignees being on a team, you can assign persons the right to work and opportunity. And then of course they have the email template. I use the default for now. I'm going to click preview so you can get an idea of what it would look like. The default email template is going to have your information up here. It's not going to have Irene's. It's going to have the contact's name, and just we're checking off the list. Here's some of the things that we've done. If you are the listing agent, and once the listing is active in the MLS, it will take the first photo from the MLS listing and place it here. Give it a nice little framing, and it will say what has been done. If there's only one item that's been performed, it's only going to have whatever that checklist item happens to be. But for whoever it is that you decided to check off and let them know, they get notified. Nice little email, just kind of, hey, I'm at your side every step. Go through, download my app. It never hurts to have that again. And of course, the information from the marketing profile. So you want to make sure your marketing profile is also up to date. This is something that I believe last year when we really pushed the new agent sites in last August, September, or October, I believe it's right, because it was October when they came out. One of the first things I told everyone was you need to have that marketing profile ready, one for the market site, but now you're going to see not only for emails and not only for marketing pieces within designs, but within the client update. So you don't have to worry about doing this all the time. But it's a nice little email. It's a touch. It will be sent out using command email. So it will count against the 5,000 free emails that you get each month from command email. But keeping your buyers or sellers informed when your little checklist items are done, I think it's a great little additional touch. If you forget to mention something when you're talking to them weekly, My wife and I generally try to call first thing on Monday. If not, we're calling Thursday afternoon if there's an open house or something coming up. But we try to make sure they're informed where they're at, any changes that have happened since the last time we spoke, and using the items on this checklist. This, as you can see, this is what we've done. This is where we completed. That extra little personal step is something they remember, because if and any of the senior agents will tell you, and even the National Association of Realtors will share with you, most buyers and sellers state their agent does not communicate with them. It's not that we're not trying, it's just we're not effectively communicating. So if I call them and I send them this client update, and maybe if I also text them, there can be no claim that I was not communicating. So we're going to go back to, click the red square if you don't remember, go to opportunities. We can leave, I know it's good. Under opportunities, I'm gonna pick one here. Let's see. My new listing. We did the seller profile. She still hasn't registered yet. Okay. Wanted to make sure she's supposed to be downloading my app, but she still hasn't. Details. The details. The devil is in the details. I cannot stress this enough. And the reason I'm saying this is, right now I'm in the pre-listing. There is no MLS listing. We're getting the paperwork, we got the contract signed, I got the owner's authorization to temporary exclude from MLS. I've done all that. So I went ahead and put the property address in here. Also made sure the opportunity name, because when you're the listing agent, you should already know what the address is. The address, street address, needs to be in the opportunity name. Whether you leave the seller's name and listing, that's purely up to you. Compliance wants the street address. And as someone who helps the compliance team, I understand the reason why. And you definitely want to make sure that you have that in there, because when they're looking to help you and they can't find your opportunities for compliance, they're going to ask you what's the street address. Details. Pencil, just like everything else, means edit. Pencil means edit. Within the details, you have the owner of the opportunity, the assignees, those that are on the team that actually have the rights to access the opportunity and to work it with the owner. We're active, pre-MLS listing. That is the contact or the seller's name. There is no co-seller. I have the time frame of 0 because we're active now. We had the appointment scheduled on August 21st and appointment date of August 24th. I'm going to click here for edit, because the agreement was actually won on the 24th and we got her to physically sign the appointment. Click my schedule. Saturday. She was studying for her doctorate, finishing up her thesis for her doctorate. I knew that we were going to get the house, and to be honest with you, I was not going to push when I know that basically we had the house to be sold. The listing price is $525,000. We lowered the commission rate again to 3. So I'm changing that to 3. When I have an executed contract, and only when I have an executed contract, will I personally put in the contract date, the executed contract date, and at that time I will put in the estimated close date. The reason that I fill these two out is we know the date of execution, we know the date the contract says we're going to close by. I don't do the actual closed date until it actually closes, because if you've been in the business, whether it be 3 months, 3 years, 30 years, The estimated close date or the date of the contract is not always the date that it's going to close. That's just a fact of life, and we work with it. So I don't put the actual close date in until the day of closing. Now, this particular information here does not mean if you don't fill it out, it's not time critical. Because as you see right here, if it doesn't have a red star, it's not considered mandatory. May I, for your review, the artificial intelligence that's behind the Keller platform needs data so that it can become smarter, so that it can understand and learn our tendencies and understand what we, how we work as agents. So if we're able to tell them that within, we can schedule and a couple of days later we have an appointment, and this being a bad example with it almost being 2 months, but after the appointment, we have an agreement won, and so many days after the agreement is won, we have a contract, and after so many days after that, we actually close. That's information that can be used to determine in the future, when your contract in the future meets close criteria to what this contract meets, oh, it looks like it's going to match, and they start putting all the logarithms together, they'll be able to tell us the likelihood that the opportunity is going to close and about how long it's going to take to close. So this is, I make sure I fill the data. If you don't worry about it. All I'm wanting you to understand is where the stars are, stage, phase, contact name, that information is required. And I just updated my commission rate. I'll get her back up 3.5. The seller worksheet, I want to make sure, if you notice, the seller's worksheet updated the 3% from the details, but it does not update the buyers. So I want to make sure I update that. The seller's worksheet has to do more with when you have multiple offers and you want to present them. You want to make sure the information in the seller's worksheet. Right now, if you click Show Net on the worksheet, you're going to need for this information here to be right. So if you know that if the seller is willing to pay closing costs, or if there's a mortgage balance or a second balance, you can put in like the prorated taxes, things of that nature. Gives them, it's almost doing a seller's worksheet based upon an offer that's received. Details, make sure you have the property information in there as properly and as much as you can. We understand that you don't know everything right away, but as you do become aware of more information, please make sure that you put it in there. Seller profile. Again, if this seller and or buyer in a buying opportunity, if they have downloaded the app and logged in and or the website, you would see they would be registered with the consumer platform. Has anyone noticed, has anyone worked with their consumer guide within consumer? I'm going to go to consumer, whoops, I have to learn where I'm going. Go to consumer, and there's a consumer guide. It's called the Guide Builder here, if they're buying and or selling. It's a guide that goes through, and it's almost like the step-by-step checkoff list. I call it, as Josh Team said so eloquently at family reunion, and again it automatically lets them know where they're at. However, it's a physical app thing that you have to do right now. Just like the pizza tracker. Kind of let them know that where they are in this, the buyer's process. I want you to get pre-approved. Now I want you to start your search. I will let you know, by default, the way it first came out, and it may have updated since then, they had them in this order. I was like, I don't want them starting their search until they've been pre-approved. So I switched the order. Grab the 6 dots and rearrange. Tour homes, make an offer, execute contract, home inspection, home insurance, home warranty, and clear to close. If you decide you want to add steps, and you are allowed to add whatever it is you want, as long as it's accurate and as long as it doesn't violate any fair housing practices, click add a step. You're going to need a title. We'll just say, we'll say escrow, just for lack of a better term here, escrow. And then you go say the card subtitle. Make sure you make the good faith down payment, and they have a little picture, a little card image like they have for each of these here. It will appear as the very last step. You grab it, you drag it to wherever it is you need to be in your order. It's a great little thing. It's really, it really is great because you can customize your builder guide. Like, for example, I need to update the belief system because I don't have the equity in there right now. So I know that once that comes out where I can put it back in, I'm going to put that in there for my builder buyer's guide. But on the profile, whether it's the buyer's or seller profile, just to show you, it says buyer profile. It's the same type of information. This one will see the buyer's guide. On the listing opportunity, he will see the seller's guide. Purely all there is to it. Any questions at this point right now? Kind of part of the way through, and the next ones are going to be somewhat intense. So I want to see if anyone has any questions. Open it up for questions. Is everyone still awake? All those asleep say aye. Aye. Okay, let's move on forward here. And we're going to go next to the documents. So I'm going to start with buyer because that is the easiest. So underneath buyer. Now, I will let you know that we are looking to add to the list to cover Keller offers here very soon. So just be aware that once I get confirmation on what all the compliance is going to need documentation wise, I will make sure that a list is created so that when you click on the drop down, see we've made this one, it's more of a placeholder until I know for sure that's what we're going to do. You click on whatever type of transaction this is. You can switch the folder by clicking on the name here, or I think you can't add a version, can you? Yeah, good. You click here, it changes it from consultation. I'll be honest with you, there are some states that require some sort of paperwork for a buyer, maybe like the buyer's agreement, things of that nature, and they put it in their consultation folder. But we have our buyer's agreement and everything here. So I can't give you any justifiable explanation as to why we would need the consultation. However, maybe you want to, you're going to get all the pre-approval. You want to get the buyer's pre-approval. You want to get any letters or things of that nature that any paperwork that you may need to have for them beforehand, put them in the consultation. Or add a new custom folder. This is probably one of the most underutilized features in documents is the custom folders. So for the buyer, maybe you want to say buyer letters and buyer letters and pre-approval, something like that. Something that you know is there. Because when I click on here, even though there's nothing there for me to do, I can always add a document, which would be I could put their pre-approval, or I could put a letter that they want to send to each seller, whatever the case may be. You could always create as many folders as you'd like. When you're under contract, You can see what's required, what's conditionally required. And I'm not holding a contracts class. However, you should know what is required and what's conditionally required based upon the contract that you're working at that time. So if you do have an FHA buyer, you know you're going to need the rider E. You're not going to have rider E and rider F. Rider F is for conventional or cash if you want to do it, but rider E is for the FHA and VA. One thing you notice here is the rider B. Now, one thing I may be adding to condo, when you go to under contract, is an optional rider B, because some condominiums will have almost more than one HOA. One will be more for the condo HOA, and one will be actual community association. However, that can be put down as an additional rider. I've been told to leave it alone for now, but I'm trying to make it easier for everybody. I'll do what I can to make it easier for everyone. Everyone knows that once you have the DocuSign room, or if you're using .loop, the loop created, which has to be created from within the opportunity. If you've never taken my basic opportunities class, please understand, first you need a contact. Once you have a contact, you're able to create an opportunity. Once you have an opportunity, you're then free to create either the DocuSign room if you're using DocuSign, or the loop within .loop. It's all done from within command here. You did not go to .loop and create a loop first and then try to make it connect to an opportunity command. It has to go from contact to opportunity, and we'll just say .loop or DocuSign. It has to be created in that order. Adding files, everyone knows, either on your computer, it's on your DocuSign or .loop, or maybe you have it within the custom folders that you've created. Once you find it and you assign it, it will appear there. With documents, this is something that a few people ask. If I add a file, or I have an offer, and then the offer falls through, how do I either I want to replace everything, or what do I do? So my buyer comes in and they're ready to buy, and then the offer falls through, and now what do I do? Do I mark this as a lost opportunity? Do I archive it, or what is the process to do? I want to make sure that we understand. Archiving are for mistakes. For example, if you create an opportunity for a contact as a buyer, and then you realize, oh, you know what, this is supposed to be for a listing, you will have to archive it. There is no way to change an existing opportunity from a buyer opportunity to listing, or listing to buyer. It's an archive. It's a mistake. If you go in, now just to give an example right here, if I create an opportunity and I'm going to use it for one of my test ones. So if I create this opportunity and I want to say I'm going to create this, and then I say create it, and it's under what's going to be under cultivate for listing. So I put it there, and then I realize, oh no, you know what? This is supposed to be a buyer. Don't go over here and click mark lost opportunity. A lost opportunity is if this buyer or seller fires you. There's no opportunity to get a transaction off this buyer or seller. It's lost. You've lost the opportunity to be this particular party's real estate agent. What I will do is I'll go up to where it says listing cultivate. That is a breadcrumb, and click that. You can see the one I just created here right now. I'll go to the three dots, click, and create archive opportunity. Sure you want to archive it? Sure. That essentially says I made a mistake. So when your practicing or playing and learning. I highly encourage everyone, create opportunities. Even, like I said, I use Daffy Duck, Daisy Duck, Donald Duck. Create contacts that are dummy or test contacts. Create opportunities and go in and see what happens if you do this, what happens if you do that. It's the only way you're going to learn is to get your hands in there and to play with it. You don't want to learn to play with it while you're trying to actually do a live transaction. So please make sure that if you get the opportunity to create a dummy contact and create a dummy opportunity. You can create a dummy room in DocuSign or .loop or dummy loop, whatever you want to do, so that you can see how everything interacts with one another. That's the reason they gave us the archive. It's kind of like oops. It's kind of almost like the oops button. Lost opportunity means this is gone. So if my buyer goes and makes an offer on a property and the offer is accepted and then something falls through, we go through inspections, we're not going to buy this house. This is not a lost opportunity. I did not lose the buyer, I just lost that particular offer. Now I'm going to come over here with respect to buyer. So if this buyer makes an offer and I go through here and I start putting all the paperwork in here, all the documents in here for compliance. So I'm going to put all the documentation, I'm going to put the broker synopsis, sales contract, and I'm still waiting maybe for the verification of escrow work. So I haven't submitted it to compliance yet. If for some reason the transaction falls through, if you want to, as long as you have not submitted to the compliance, if you want to, when you come over here and it says, what do you want to do? Right now it says add file, but I believe if I'm not mistaken, you can replace or remove them. Fine, do that. But once it's sent to compliance, it cannot be removed. It needs to remain there in the event there's some sort of lawsuit with that offer. I know that sounds kind of far-fetched, but that's the purpose or the reason why when you're under contract, let's say this was full. Well, actually, you know what? Let me go to an actual buyer for you. Give me 1 second. Everybody's over here, if I remember. There we go. So if I go over here and I've got everything approved, if I come over here and say replace, I don't want to replace. Because right now, once it's approved, it's the only thing that's going to let me do. Once it's submitted to the market, once it's submitted, when it says MC, submit to MC, that's actually the market center compliance. Because in some market centers, their MCAs or alpha staff do the compliance. We're blessed with having a compliance department that takes care of us. However, once you see it's approved, you don't want to touch this folder. So even if I come back and I had to add, say for example, I had to replace something here. But if I needed to add anything to this particular contract for under contract, at this time, because it was a referral using the referral network of realtors, the Advantage Referral Network, I created a custom folder and said, this is what's in there. If this had fallen through, I'd have to go over here and add a version. If you add a version, it's going to say under contract V2. Recommendation, since you don't have the ability to name the first, because this is a buyer, so the one thing that will change with the buyer may be the potential street address. So the under contract has to apply to the first home that you go under contract. If I click add a version, it's going to say under contract V2. Maybe put the street address to help keep yourself clear. Because if I'm not mistaken, let's see if one of these is one of them. Neither one of these. We'll go close. Got everybody closed in the two. I was just saying, I had a buyer that essentially we had to keep going through. There were multiple versions of under contract. It was under contract V2, street address, under contract V3, street address, and so forth and so on. But when it came time, I knew which was which as far as the folders go because I named it by the street address. Here we go, let's do this. So I go to under contract. I know I had one always. If I had a version, by default, it's under contract V2. So let's just put address number 2. And I create the version. So now I could be able to switch to which one I needed. If I had to add a version now because of another, it fell through and that offer falls through. A new version. So I can change which one I'm working with. And I know which one I'm working with by making sure this matches to the most current address. So you don't have to archive and start all over. It's not a lost opportunity because the buyer has to make another offer on another property. What it is another version. That's all it is. It's another version. Same holds true with it closed. You're really not going to have another version of closed unless you just simply want to add, instead of creating a custom folder. I've seen one agent do that. Instead of creating a custom folder, they go in here and add a version of, it'll be like different things that weren't covered here. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, you can add a document at any time. You don't have to, you're not limited to the 4. You see 4 items here. If you want to add an item, you can add an item. There'll be 5 items listed. It's made to work for you. However, when it comes to your documents, please make sure that once you've submitted them to compliance, even if they rejected them or whatever the case, once it's in compliance and compliance has actually seen the documents, use the version. I cannot stress that enough. We're making it so, we're going to make it so that the compliance team can go back and look at previous versions so that if for legal reasons, there are legal reasons why they need to have that information remain inside at all times. Oops, sorry about that. All right. Checking something here. Next, offers. The golden goose. Whether you decide whether you're the listing agent or the buyer's agent, it doesn't matter. They don't ask us to keep. There's no mandate at this time that we insert or put every single offer into the opportunity. There's no mandate for this whatsoever. However, best practice I found is to have it in there. So what I mean by that is if this particular, like this one here, I said that this seller is going to, this is the seller and there's my buyer and they made this offer and they accepted it. Let's say that all of a sudden Daisy decides she doesn't want this house anymore. We change the response and I say yes. Again, it does not go with, oh, now what do I do? I can either edit the offer and go back and make it so that it's whatever the new offer is, the offer date, the close date, the property address, the parties. If I have this as information from the opportunity I created, if I pull from the MLS or if I use the KWLS to pull the listing, it generally will have some of this information in there. All I need is the seller's name and then the co-op agent's name. terms, however you want to do it, whatever floats your boat, works for you is great. Personally, what I will do is if it's a full cash offer, then I'll put the entire amount in cash. If they're even financing only 10%, I still put everything in the finance amount. You can split it, but I wouldn't worry. All right, well, they're putting 70% down. You know what? Are they financing anything? Just put everything in the finance amount. This is the number that matters, sale price. So if I know what the sales price is, either put it here or put it here. Don't worry about that. Earnest amount, you can either, and let me go back, let me correct myself because I meant to say this and I apologize. If you put the information here or you put the information here, what you can't do is go, for example, if I try to go to sales price, which is what I just clicked in, and try to put the number in, it won't allow me to put anything. I either have to put a number here or I have to put a number here. So either it goes into cash or it goes in the finance amount. I cannot type in to the sales price. However, with respect to the earnest amount, I can type either here or I can type in the percentage. So if I wanted to say it was 2%, that's great. Or if I wanted to say it was $5,000, whoops, I can do that. That is the one field that you can do it one or the other. Up here, you either put it in cash and or finance, but you can't put it in the sales price. I've asked for that to be corrected, and I'll hold my breath on that one. Option fee, we're not Texas, Illinois, and whoever else has it, with an option fee. Buyer give notice of termination. I basically treat this like the inspection period. Seller to contribute. This information is not as critical with your offer. They're not using this information yet. However, if they give termination of so many days that they're going to, we're not doing with the contract, that's our inspection period. The buyer has, the buyer's remorse, they get 10 days or 7 days, whatever the inspection period is. Seller will contribute towards a residential service contract. Home warranty. Seller will contribute to settlement costs, closing costs. You don't have to put anything in there. You can go to agent analysis. As the buyer's agent, you're normally not going to put much in for agent analysis. If you are the listing agent, please exercise this extreme caution on what you say and how you say it. You do not want to appear that you are steering in any way, shape, or form their decision. You should be stating the facts and the facts only. Closing in 10 days, 5-day inspection period, whatever, and I would just put that in a summary. I wouldn't even touch the pros and cons, simply because of the fact that it looks like I'm saying, well, this is a pro, it's a cash offer. However, this is a FHA offer. They close faster. Well, that's your opinion. You don't know what's going to close faster. So you can put in the summary, 10-day inspection period, 5,000 escrow, closing in 30 days, something like that. Simple facts from the contract. Because once you've saved it, if you had multiple, as a listing agent, multiple offers come in, you could present them to your seller. So now once it is in here and it's accepted, just click accept. It's pure and simple. It's just that easy. Notice that once your offer is accepted, your commissions, or your, as we used to call them, the green sheets, is now active. I want you to watch. I'm going to change the response so it's not accepted. Commissions is grayed out. You have a little icon here. Unless you have, and if you hover over the little icon, you will be able to view your commission when you have an accepted offer. Accept the offer. If the offer falls through for whatever reason, your buyer changes their mind, whatever the case may be, if you want to change it, And then if you want to remove the offer and then start all over again with your new offer, right now there's no policy that says that you can't do that. Personally, I keep everything so I have a record of all the offers that were made, but that's a personal preference. I'm about my record keeping. If you just simply want whatever it is to get me paid, let's do that. Only thing you need to know to get paid is that you need to have an offer that reflects the actual offer, and it needs to be accepted so that the commissions tab is now active. I will not go over every little single part of the commissions tab because there are so many little nuances with respect to how you can, as far as information. I believe with the market centers, they're all doing everything similar with respect to edit agent payment. You have all your typical numbers here. Extra payment options, bonuses, deductions, concessions. I always click add item. The first thing I always have is the bonus, which is a $395 bonus. Even if I'm capped, which I am, I always put split with Market Center. This is the $395 transaction fee I'm charging the party that I'm assisting. So my check should be more because I'm getting $395 from them. Then the next item will be a deduction. The deduction is $100, and this is the broker transaction fee. If you don't charge the $395, you're still paying the $100, so you still have to put in the $100. And I'm just going to put KW Oviedo for now. It knows the address, thank God, and the phone number. Whoops. And add. Once I've done all of that, I'm going to save changes. So it shows that I'm capped. It shows that my commission from the sale of the home is $7,500. I get a bonus of $395, which is the $395 transaction fee that I would be charging to the buyer in this case. And then there's the $100 deduction. So if you take the $7,500, add the $395, that's $7,895. Subtract the $100, $7,795. It's normally not until you've clicked the save that you see all the numbers accurately reflect correctly. If you want to make a deduction or something to, for KW Cares, KW Kids Can, anything of that nature, or if you have, there's certain organizations like for example, in Oviedo, we have a KW Oviedo Cares or something. It's like KW Cares for Oviedo. So that's something that we can put as a deduction also. Check with your MCA to see if there's any of these particular charities available to you. But that's your green sheet in a whole nutshell. The fact that this is so simple it blows my mind that we're having issues with this. If for some reason you need to add another agent, if I needed to add an agent, and I would be able to find the agent's name. First thing I'm going to have to realize is that I can't have one unit here and then add another agent with any decimal, because I'll add my wife. Don't tell her I just misspelled her name, please. Put 0.5, I put calculate. So that's half of the $7,500. I'm going to save changes. You're going to look, there's an excess commission and I'm out of balance because I can't have somebody with 0.5 and someone else with 1. So now I got to come over here. Oops, I got to go over here. Where's it? Yeah, this one. 0.5. Calculate the commission. The best thing is you don't have to calculate it. You don't have to go there and try to do it yourself. Use the calculate. All the errors have gone away. Nothing's changed. Why is there a difference in the amount? Because I'm paying I collected the $395 and I took the $100 out of mine. So if I wanted to split that, I could split that also. This is something that every MCA has gone over numerous times. We have the best MCAs, the Advantage Group. No one can even come close. So if you have questions about the commissions, they're top notch. So ask them. There's no reason why you should not ask them. They're there for you to ask. Do it respectfully. Don't be asking the same question 1,000 times over. However, make sure that you do ask them. All right. I think someone said we sure do. I know we do. I love them all. Next, does anyone have any questions right now on commissions? Like I said, I'm not going into grand, in-depth detail with respect to each of these. It's more of trying to make sure that you realize, I know that basically I call it a mega camp release, but they updated commissions so it was so much easier to use. It was so much easier to split between another agent. It was so easier to do referrals. I mean, they've done everything except give us the big crowns. And I know Thelma's laughing at me because that's always what I say. Sometimes we need to give everybody the big crown so they understand. That's how it works. But I mean, they've made it so it's easy. If you have not taken advantage of it, please sit through. I don't care which MCA that does it for you, but I know that Phil, Lyra, and Lara are all doing commission type classes. Please sit through them. If there's one thing you may want to make sure you know how to do in command, and that's how to get paid. I will do everything in my power to help you get through up to this point. But at this point, if they have certain nuances within the office, they override me. I work for them, not the other way around. I work for you. So I want you to do the best you can, and I want you to understand this tool. Yes, there are hiccups every once in a while. Yes, I understand it was down earlier today. However, this tool is going to make everything so much easier for you. Our next little section, notes. Add a note. You can go in there. What I use, what our team, I'll show you an actual. Let's see, there you go. Notes. This is what we have on our, this is actually a listing that back in August we went under contract. So our transaction coordinator will go through and put the quote unquote important dates in the notes. So we know this was the effective date, this is the EMD due, this is when the inspection period ends, this is the loan approval or finance, as they call it now, the title commitment date, and the proposed date of closing. That one fell through on 9/11. She entered, this was when the executed date, escrow due, inspection period, financial approval, title commitment, closing disclosure, and date of closing. So we have all that information available to us. Now, the only thing we haven't done is we did not update that the date of closing due to an extension. However, that is something we can put in the notes. The notes help you communicate amongst your teammates if you're on a team. Currently, I know that as an individual agent or single agents may not have, well, I'm not a team, how is this going to help me? The release is coming out, so as a single agent, if you want to add an admin, like a transaction coordinator or someone to help you, who's non-licensed or licensed, doesn't matter. However, if you want to add somebody to grant them access to command, then you should be able to do that. And then you can either use notes or the discussion. So if I want to create a discussion, for example, let's just say I want to put on here to Tammy. I just did it again. Click it. To Tammy, please update the new closing date and notes. Click send. She's going to be notified through her access and command that I just sent this to her, almost like a text message, as if all we need is another social media type thing to go through, but at least she sees that. So the next time when I look at the discussion, I will see there was this. If she replies, she comes back and I will see her reply. I can pin this to make sure it's there. I can do all types of information on there. It's almost like a little messenger within this particular opportunity. So the rainmakers and anyone who's an assignee will see this discussion, because it's only applicable to those people that are supposed to be working this opportunity. Timeline. This is probably boring to just about everyone except me. I came from the background where we had to track records and we had to track timelines. I was one of those people that had to actually sit and read HTML code to find errors or to find when things were being stolen, for lack of a better term. And having this in this nice, neat little format here is great, because I can see not only what was done, but who did it. What was done, who did it. I can see who done what, blah, blah, blah. The thing is, I can also filter by the date, the activity type. Who else might have had access to it? I can apply all those filters. I can go through. I can find anything about the opportunity through the timeline. As an agent, for the most part, you're going to say, you're going to probably sit there, that's boring. What do I really know this? As a rainmaker, if I need to know who did something to a particular opportunity and when, or if you said you did something and you hadn't, I'll know. So it's not me playing Big Brother, but if we said that we, for example, let's say we sent something to someone, and let's see, looking to see if I can find it real fast. Yeah, you viewed it. There you go. Under documents, I submitted the listing documents on this date at this time. So if it comes back and says, well, we never received it or you never submitted it, I have it in my timeline. So I'm one of those people that when you say, oh, I didn't get the email, I can track the header and email. I know what time you opened it, what time you received it. I know. I don't always have to ask for read receipt. But this is your timeline that protects you also. This is when I did it, what was done, when I did it, and the timestamp when it was done. I find the timeline useful. I really do. But that's my personality, for lack of a better term. Now I'm going to ask and open up for a bit before we stop the recording. Does anyone have any questions? Anything that I may need to go back over? Now I understand, like I said, if you haven't done this before, please understand you can always go to answers answers.kw.com. Go to answers.kw.com. Click on the first little rectangle there that says command. I want you to know this for more than one reason. Number one, if you look, there are articles on everything, if you want to say command and DocuSign, so that if you have any questions on how to do something, they basically have it in there. For example, I'm going to go back up here to, if I click on opportunities, you can see I was trying to get ready. That's the reason I have all these tabs open. When command wasn't open earlier, I was like, oh, this is not good. But I made a promise I was going to be here for you, so I was making sure I was here. But if you go through and let's just say edit checklist and opportunities, they go through, understand, I understand that sometimes the screen captures may be a bit dated. So please take that with a grain of salt. They're trying to make it more user-friendly as they can, but basically the steps definitely don't change. So you can go in, it talks about editing the stages and the checklist, how you can add items, designate checklist items. I can say when I'm in an opportunity, which I'll go back to and show you, because I forgot about that. I can say who's responsible for doing a certain checklist item. Like one thing that we have with ours, once we go into contract, we send a welcome letter to, if like we try to do predominantly listings. So we're going to send, there's a welcome letter sent from our TC or transaction coordinator to the sellers, making sure she reintroduces herself again. There's one sent to the title, there's one sent to the lender, and there's one sent to the cooperating agent, making sure that we have all the, everyone's on the same page. I designate my transaction coordinator to do that every time. That's what she does. She has a template. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel if I don't need to. If I go into, I'm just going to pull one just for now. Excuse me. I'm going to go to, like, for example, like right here where it says cleaning, decleaning, depersonalizing. I can assign it. Who do I want to assign it to? I can set a due date. When is this due? I can do for every single step. Now, one thing I also would like to, excuse me, one thing I'd also like to note, if I go in, when I go in here, if I try to add a stage, we'll just say, and how would I do that? Let's say I want to add something to the checklist. So I go here, and I decide I want to add a checklist item. The checklist item is only going to apply to this particular one here. It's only going to apply to this particular. If I want it to apply to every single one of my opportunities moving forward, I do it here. So you can modify your checklist when you go into the stage. When I modify it here, it'll be for every active listing moving forward. If I modify it from within here, it's only going to be, whoops, it's only going to be for this particular listing. So I'll tell you, this is a neat little tool that we have with us. The fact that you can designate who does what or who's supposed to do what. You can make sure that everyone on the team is on the same page, especially in this environment where maybe we all can't be in the same building or the same zip code for, for security reasons. But excuse me. But at any rate, it's about 16, it's about 4:15. So if no one has any questions, I will give you about 14 minutes back of your day. I do want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. The recording will be up on the respective Facebook pages either later today or first thing in the morning. Everyone, I thank you very much again, and God bless. And if you need anything, you have my information. You also, I'll make sure I put in here in the chat. That is the Calendly link for anyone that needs to schedule an appointment with me. And make sure you select the appropriate appointment. And with this, I say goodbye. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.